So in this session, we will do activity related to label the apparatus, that you will find a very common question in alternative to practicals, that you have to label the piece of apparatus. So right now I want everyone to go through this slide so that you can recognize the piece of apparatus. This is a gas syringe, stopwatch, funnel, steering rod, stopper, a top pen balance, a gauze, this is called a gauze, a wire gauze, a tripod or a stand, a test tube, a condenser, crystal funnel, separating funnel, Bunsen burner, spirit burner, knife, spatula, metallic tong, test tube rack, stand with clamp, a dropper, a clamp is there, crucible, as you can see this is a crucible, mortar, pestle, measuring cylinder, a burette, pipette, gas jar, a wash bottle, beaker, conical flask, round bottom flask, flat bottom flask, thermometer, volumetric flask, evaporating dish, and watch glass. So we'll start the activity. In this activity, you have to, on your screen, you will see different apparatus, and I want everyone to participate and label the apparatus. It's better you type the name of apparatus on the screen. So the first one, you have to label the apparatus, what we call the first block, first box. What is this piece of apparatus labeled? It is only labeled for on mortar only. So you don't have mortar and pestle. That's right. Mortar and pestle, or even mortar is acceptable because the line is only on mortar. So simple answer, that is mortar. But acceptable mortar and pestle. What about the second one, B? Those who are not able to use the screen annotation, they can use the chat to type the answer. Steering rod, that's good. So first one is mortar and pestle, the second one is steering rod. What about the third one? C. What is this apparatus? So this is a simple stand. And what about the last one? What is this apparatus called? It's a Bunsen burner. That's right. So that's a Bunsen burner. Moving on to the next part. Identify the piece of apparatus label A, B, and C. What is A? A piece of apparatus A. This is A. What we call this? A funnel. That's good. Yeah, that's right, funnel. What about B? You can use the screen annotation and type your answers, or you can use the chat. The second one is a conical flask. Okay. Yeah, Abdullah, it's okay. You typed. So the first one was a funnel. The second one is a conical flask. And what about C? Yeah, that's right. Good. That's dropper. Correct. So you will find this question common, and repetition is also there. Complete the boxes. What about box 1? What is this? Clamp stand. Good. But you should mention a clamp stand here, as I will show you, because in the beginning I showed the piece of apparatus, so it is stand with a clamp or a clamp stand. Not only stand is not the full answer, it should be a clamp, clamp stand or stand with a clamp. What about 2? That's a Bunsen burner. So 2 is Bunsen burner, and the third one, that is the dropper. Name each piece of apparatus. A. What is A? A is thermometer. That's good. And I want participation from others as well. Heather, Lamia, you should also participate. What about apparatus B? That's beaker. And what about apparatus C? C. D is condenser. Yeah, D is stand or tripod stand, you can say. And D is a condenser. You can say stand or a tripod stand. More examples. What is this apparatus in box 1? Name of apparatus in box 1. Measuring cylinder, good. What about apparatus in box 2? A tripod stand or a stand. And what about apparatus, the box 3? Stand is acceptable, but normally we use a tripod stand. So it's better write a full length tripod stand. But stand will also give you marks. What about box 3? Spatula. So the spoon which we use to add small quantity of a solid, that spoon is known as spatula. What is the apparatus in box 1? Uh, that's not a pipette, because when I show you, I will show the apparatus. You can see here, these are the apparatus. So this is actually a tap funnel. If it was a burette, to be a burette, it is similar, but what you can see in a burette, there are markings as well. But in a tap funnel, you don't have markings. So when you check this, because burette and tap funnel look similar, but how you can identify whether it's a burette or a tap funnel? If there are markings, then it's a burette. If no marking, then it is a tap funnel. Is just to add the liquid to the mixture so that it will not build up the pressure. So what is this? Can you see any marking on this? So there is no marking. What is this apparatus called? Then it will be a tap funnel. What about box 2? Apparatus in box 2. No, that's not a beaker. Yeah, it's a conical flask. And what about the apparatus shown in box 3? The apparatus shown in box 3. If it was a measuring cylinder, then how you can distinguish a measuring cylinder or a gas jar? As you can see, these apparatus, a gas jar does not have any labels. A measuring cylinder is having a label. So both look similar, both are cylindrical vessels, but a measuring cylinder is used to measure the volume as well. But in a gas jar, we just hold the gas inside. We are not measuring a volume. So what it looks like, can you see any markings on this? So there is no marking. So if it's no marking, it's not a measuring cylinder. Actually, it's a gas jar, or you can also say gas tube, you can say, but better word is a gas jar. Okay, label the apparatus for box 1. What is the name of apparatus for box 1? It's not a spatula. Stirring rod, or you can also say rod, or you can say a glass rod. If you want to stir the mixture, we use this is a spatula. What about box 2? It's a balance or a top band balance. As I showed in the from the slides, you can see, which I show from the beginning, it's a top band balance, and this one is a stirring rod. So stirring rod is there, and this is a balance or a top band balance. Balance is acceptable, but you can also write top band balance, which is the full name for this apparatus. Balance is acceptable. You will get the marks if you write balance. What about box 3? Box 3 is representing a beaker. You can use the screen annotation, or you can use a chat to state the answer, but I want participation from everyone. Another one, what is the name of apparatus shown in this box? It's a beaker, that's right. For box 1, what is the name of this apparatus? Spatula. And what about box 2? Spatula, Spatula. And tripod stand or stand, that's the right answer. What about this? They did not ask for it, but what is this apparatus called? Like, if I show the vessels, you can see we have different types of vessels. We have a watch glass, we have evaporating dish. This is how the a watch glass is having a large area, evaporating dish is having a smaller area, and if it is deep, then it is crucible. So these are the three types of apparatus. So it can be crucible, it can be evaporating dish, or it can be watch glass. But what it looks like, can you recognize what it looks like, this piece? Is it a crucible, watch glass, or evaporate? So it's a watch glass, that's the right answer. It's a, as you can see, so you should be able to recognize the apparatus from the figure. Label the apparatus. What is this flask called? There are two types of flask. One is called a round bottom flask. Another one is a flat bottom flask. So you can see the two flasks. So one is a round bottom flask, another one is a flat bottom flask. So which flask is shown in the picture? Which one is shown in the picture? A round or a flat? So it is a round bottom flask or round bottom flask. Another slide, label the apparatus in a box 1, what we call a thermometer, that's good. What about apparatus 2? A condenser or a Liebig condenser, you can also say. Apparatus 1. This is a fractional distillation. No, it's not a test tube. That's not the right answer. This is specially for fractional distillation. So this part in a fractional distillation, this is called fractionating column. The fractionating column is used to separate, because in this column the vapors separated at a different temperature. That's why we specify the name as a fractionating column. What about box 2? That's a stand or tripod stand. Better write tripod. Stand is the right answer, but for a full name it should be a tripod stand. And what is this apparatus called? Crosses are there. So this is called a wire gauze. This is called the net is known as a wire gauze. The heat which we supply, we can supply by using electrical heater, or we can use a burner. What is the apparatus A called? Identify the piece of apparatus. That is spatula, right? What about B? B is known as a beaker. And what about C? That's funnel. Complete the empty boxes to name the pieces of apparatus. So what is this? It's just repetition is there. So what we call this part. Just now we labeled a slide before this. This is a fractional distillation. Uh, Not a test tube. Fractionating column or fractionating tube. So this is a specifically it is used to separate the two or more miscible substances from each other on the basis of the boiling point. So we call that as a fractionating column or fractionating tube. What about apparatus 2? That's a condenser. And what about the third one? That's a beaker, correct? Identify the pieces of apparatus label. What about the first one, A? What is A? A gas jar. And how you recognize it's a gas jar? Not gas tube, gas jar is the best word. Why? Because you don't find labels. If you find a label, then it can be a measuring cylinder. Yeah, that's right, Heather. What about the second one? Uh, B. What is apparatus B? So it's a conical flask, normally used to swell the mixture. Like when we want to mix liquids with each other, we normally use a conical flask. We don't have to complete the boxes in this case, we just have to label the pieces. Because in the boxes, it's the name of the chemical which you have to add according to the question. Okay, what about this one? Complete the boxes to identify the apparatus. Box 1. Yeah, box 2 is a spatula, that's right. What about box 1? That's a measuring cylinder. Graduated cylinder is also a right word. And what about box 3? That's a beaker. Okay. The diagram shows the formation of a solution of magnesium hydroxide. Complete the empty boxes to name the pieces of apparatus. What is this piece of apparatus? The first one. I will show you the list of apparatus as from the first slide. You can see in this slide you can find that apparatus. So what is this apparatus called? Yeah, metallic tong. Metallic tong Uh, if crucible tongs are you to hold the crucible, a metallic tong, that's or tong. You can also write tong. That's also a right word. What about this one? What it looks like? Is it a watch glass or evaporating dish? What it looks like? I will show you the two of them. Then you try to recognize what it looks like. Just a minute. I will show the pieces of apparatus. This is the watch glass, and the other one is evaporating dish. So what it looks like, a watch glass or evaporating dish? So because evaporating dish a bit deeper, but in a watch glass it's not too deep, and so it is evaporating dish in this example. What about apparatus C, box number 3? That's a beaker. Yes, Heather, that's the beaker. Okay. What about box 1? Only one of them you have to label because it is specified on this one. So what is this? It's only a mortar. If it is on the whole apparatus, then it will be mortar and pestle. What about box 2? That's a rod or a glass rod. And what about box 3? Stirring rod or a glass rod. And the third one is the funnel. Label the apparatus. That's not a beaker. Yeah, it's a conical flask. Label the boxes 1 and 2. So it's a gas syringe because we use the gas syringe to measure the volume of the gas given off. What is this apparatus called? It's again a funnel, but they invert it, but it's a funnel. So you will find repetition as well as similar questions they ask. What about number 1? Stirring rod or a glass rod? And what about second one? Is it a watch glass? It's a stirring rod. So it's a watch glass because evaporating dish is a bit deeper. That's right. What we call this apparatus? Box 1, a dropper. And dropper is also, there's another name for dropper. It's also called a teat pipette. So if you write dropper, that's right. Or you can also use teat pipette. What about box 2? What it looks like? It's a deep. It's very deep compared to even evaporating dish. So when it is very deep, then it is crucible, not evaporating dish. When it's too deep, then it is crucible. When it's shallow, then evaporating dish. And then when it is like exactly flat, only curves near the edges, then it is a watch glass. So this was an activity related to label the apparatus. So I will share this material with you so you can also practice, and you have to learn or memorize these apparatus as you can see on your screen. And the purpose for each apparatus, normally they do not ask reason why you are using a specific apparatus, but it's better you should know the reason why we use a specific apparatus. So I'll share another link. I'll end this session and share another link, and we'll start topic 3, which is about atoms, elements, and compounds. Any question related to this session? I'll share another link after finishing this one.